I'm going to see if Tom will share a couple of thoughts with people in our group who might be thinking, for where I live in my particular town, I'm seeing all the things that you're mentioning happening, and the zoning is changing. Everything's getting more restrictive. It's getting harder to use your property the way you want to. And, these are people that are very conscious of taking care of environmental issues and getting rid of pollution and things like that, but who I think understand that you don't have to give up all your rights in order to do that and save the world. So if they wanted to start more understanding and more preventive and curative action to get their town back, which to me, after our discussion in the main show, was like, what you're wanting to do is return to self-government, really. I mean,
it's a concept.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good idea. I've heard of a country that was started that way a long time ago.
Yeah.
But getting back to self-government, I've been to city council meetings a few times when big things were happening and I had time, and it was like the people on the panel who were called the city councilors, they were just like zombies. And if they can't be reached, then I guess new people have to run who don't get corrupted, right? Something like that?
Yeah. And, I mentioned that citizens' resolution for the protection of citizens' property rights. That's a tool. What this resolution says is three things. It says if the city council or whoever it is going to do something that's going to affect my property, they will bring me into the discussion. There's a really radical idea.
Wow.
Second is if they continue and go ahead with it, that they're going to compensate me for any losses that I have from their plans.
Yeah.
And third, they are not going to bring their representatives, their agents, and so forth on my property and measure and photograph and all that without my permission. That's the three things it says. And the way that we teach people to use that is to go in when, you get that 3 minutes where they allow you to address them. Oh, golly gee. Great.
Yeah, while they're texting on their phones and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you go in and you say, ladies, gentlemen, as you're bringing these plans and these planners into the community, I just got one question for you. What guarantees do I have that you'll protect my property rights? And I guarantee you this is what they'll say. They'll say, oh, of course we will. Hey, I'm a property owner too.
Exactly. I've heard them say that. Right.
Yep. You just smile and say, I'm really happy to hear you say that, but ladies, gentlemen, I'd like to have it in writing, please, and you present this resolution. They will not sign it. The NGOs behind them are going to go nuts over that, and not do it.
Yeah.
And at that point, what we've created is a weapon. We have now proven when they refuse to sign it what their position is on property rights. Now you've got an issue. First of all, you ask them when they refuse to sign it the most radical word in the English language. Why? Okay. But don't do these things alone. Have 10 people standing behind you who are now going to come up and ask the same question. Why? Now, this is when you organize. You begin to get more people there. You cannot do this alone. They'll blow you away. Mm-hmm. But if you have 10 or 15 people, you can make this happen. Put some signs together with their picture on it. Say, why won't they protect my property rights? Like I said, focus on the one guy who is really pushing these things. And begin a campaign. This is to help you have a tool to start a campaign to run them out of office. I had another way to go about it. I had a gentleman in Michigan who actually ended up being the head of his planning commission, and we had a big conversation on property rights. And I gave him this resolution, and he went to the county the planning meeting, and he puts the plan in front of them, and he says, "Gentlemen, we don't have any protection of property rights in this document." And they said, well, yeah, we do. And he said, pushed it in front of him and said, show me where. And they couldn't find it. And they said, oh, I guess you're right. He just got it right here. And he began a recall petition for every single member of the township board, the elected township board. He actually got it approved by the county attorney, and he's now collecting signatures to do that.
Wow.
So, these are a couple of things that can be done. We have to fight back. They never feel any pain for their actions. That's why they're arrogant. That's why they don't care a whit about what you say when you are standing there in front of them. And as I said earlier, victory is when they start to sweat and say, oh my gosh, you know what these people would do to me if I did that. That's people controlling, not them controlling you. And that's what we have to create.
Well, and you need to get some good people running to replace them, right?
Yes, and that has become a problem because one of the things from our side is we don't like government. So the last thing we want to do is get in.
Nobody wants to have anything to do with it, no.
Yeah. And so that's hard to find a good person to run. It's very difficult. But if you could put a cadre of people together, here's how it should look. Say you've got 25 people. And one way to build that cadre is if they're going to do something in the neighborhood using eminent domain, maybe in an ethnic neighborhood, low-income neighborhood, and they're going to bulldoze everything there, go down there and tell them what they're about to do. You can build your movement that way. But get your core 25 people. 2 or 3 of those people should be the kind of people who just love to do research. Those are your most valuable people. And have them begin to look into the plans and begin to find specific issues of why you're taking opposition to this plan. And that's what you can focus on to begin to bring them out. And then you have the people. Also, you need a couple of people who will go to every single meeting. They don't have to do anything but observe and report back. And then you've got your regular activists who can write letters to the editor, who can speak out, that sort of thing, organize the people to come and carry the signs and all that. Begin to do that. And one other thing that can be done, the Founding Fathers gave us a secret weapon in controlling these elections. That is the secret weapon called precinct captain. If you can control your own precinct where you live, you can control everything that happens in it. You can control the votes in there, and begin to organize.
You mean making sure that they're counted accurately and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Or that you're getting your information out to everybody who lives there, and you're you're turning people out and so forth. You can there are means that can be used to find the voters who support your guy and make sure they get to the polls. That kind of thing. And those are that's the kind of organization that has to be done. The other side has done it. And we've allowed them to do that, and we sit there going, well, golly, nothing I can do.
Well, most of the good people have no interest in controlling anybody else.
Exactly. I have no interest in it.
No, the other thing that stops good people from ever running for anything is they feel like it takes a lot of money. So you can only do that if you're, pretty rich.
But it doesn't on the local level. That's the point. If you focus on the local level, and it can change then as time goes by. But if you begin to organize this way, and campaigns, you do have to go door to door. You do have to. It ain't fun, but it's your life. We've got to we sit there and watch it disappear and live under these idiots that we've been talking about through all this, and their idiotic ideas, and nothing for the individual, nothing for how you're to live. With them dictating you. That's
it is kind of shocking. I mean, the average normal person thinks that everybody else is like that too, but they haven't seen what government's doing. Yeah, I mean. It's amazing.
But I'm speaking around the country, and I'm talking to audiences. I'm getting on programs where not necessarily friendly programs, and going into these things and getting incredible response. But watch the guys who will finally start to speak up and fight back, and you'll see people rallying around them. They're so tired of this; they are scared. And if you start to talk to them in English English about what's going on and point this stuff out, they will rally around you. I've seen it.
Okay, that's encouraging. So I think the main thing is, for people to start realizing that there are all kinds of possibilities and that self-government was the idea when America was presented and founded. It was a good idea, and it could still happen. It's just normal. Yeah. And one of the things about the American founding is in the Declaration of Independence, they didn't say this was just for America. They said every human being is born with exactly the same rights. Exactly. So if we've got people listening in other countries, they're not excluded. The exact same situation applies there. It may have been subverted more and gone farther away, but I don't know. America's gone pretty far away too, and it's all curable, right?
Well, yeah, and our founding documents are some of the most highly read documents in other countries, including China and other ones. People are hungry for freedom. They want their lives. Yeah, and I have said several times in the past, if we're not careful, freedom is going to wash up on our shores from somewhere else, somebody reading our own founding documents and bringing it back.
I think that would be fine. I wouldn't mind that at all. Yeah.
We're seeing it happen
from anywhere.
In Poland and in Hungary. Right. And I'm working with a senator in Australia and an activist in Brazil and Denmark. Mm-hmm. These people have contacted me, and they're fighting, and they're starting to do some things.
It's super exciting, and I know everybody's really busy, especially because the financial system is also set up to make it so difficult to just make a living that you have no time to pay attention to anything. Yeah. But I don't see any other way around it, because even at least on a local level, to try to start being aware of what's being done would be the beginning.
We have, and I'll give you an exclusive here. We have just discovered what I consider to be the atom bomb for our side. I have argued for several years, everywhere I go, I talk about the fact that these officials are so arrogant and ignoring us because they never feel any pain. There's no responsibility for their actions. Even if you have a case where they've done something to your property and it's hurt you and you've sued them and win, it doesn't matter to them. The taxpayers pay any fines.
Yeah, exactly. Like You're right.
They don't care. There's nothing. And I have said for a long time, what we needed was legislation to make them personally responsible. Well, trying to get elected officials to vote for such legislation, it isn't something that's going to happen very readily. Not in today's politics. Well, I was at another meeting recently where I was again bringing this up. And a gentleman who was in the meeting said, well, have you looked at the 1963 Civil Rights Act, Section 1983? That's not a year, that's a section. I said, no, what's that? He said, if it says in there that if someone, whether private or elected official, violates your civil rights, you can sue them, and they are personally responsible for their fines, for their legal fees, everything. Well, I said, okay. Now, the second thing I did was I talked to an attorney that I'm working with who works on these very issues that we work on, private property and the environmental issues and so forth, and very successful on this. And I said, do you know about Section 1983? He said, oh, yeah, I've used it. And I said, in our kind of issues? He said, yeah. He is digging out some of his old records of where he used that and won, and we're going to put together a kind of a training manual on how to use this, and I'm going to now put this in the hands of activists across this country, and we're going to put it in front of these elected officials and say, now be arrogant. We're going to hold you accountable. Yeah. So
you're going to have that announced on your website at some point when it's ready?
Whenever we get it together, absolutely we will. Yeah, it's going to take a while, but we just discovered this, and I was doing flip-flops. And when I talked to a couple of other activists who immediately recognized the situation, they were doing the same flip-flops. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a super important point. It's the same thing why the vaccine industry is getting the same attitude. It's because their liability was all taken away.
And if we can use it as a civil rights issue on property rights, You can certainly use it as a civil rights issue on your protection of your personal body, I would think. So
Seems like
could
it.
Be
I mean,
the most powerful weapon.
Wow, that could be incredible. So it'd be good to stay in touch and see when that's ready to go, because we can spread it everywhere.
Oh, believe me, when I get it done, you're going to know.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for visiting for a while. It's been really fun, and we'll stay in touch in the future and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. Okay, great.
Okay, talk to you soon. See ya.
Okay.